Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope everyone is fine. Welcome to the new week. That is the 11th week of our semester, and this is the third week with online classes. So I hope online classes are going well with everyone. I know the use of computer becomes excessive, and that is not very good for our eyes as well. But I request you guys to, when you're listening to the lecture, do look at the slides, but not that keenly. That you may get some headache. But anyways, so we are going to start with our lecture of today. As you all know that we were doing the topic of we started with the topic of communication last time, and in the last class, in the last two lectures of communication last week, we discussed what is exactly the communication, what is the importance of communication. Then we discussed what is the functions, what are the different functions that communication serves. And along with that, in today's lecture, we are going to, and yes, a very important thing, we discussed the types of communication, if you remember, and I guess you all must remember. What were they? They were the non-verbal communication, verbal communication, written, and virtual communication. So these were the four types of communications that are being used, and actually they are used everywhere in life. But if we talk about the organizations or professionally how the communication is done, we'll be discussing, we discussed these four types of research. So in today's class, in today's lecture, we are going to discuss the communication process. Actually, when I say it's the communication process, what does that mean? This means how the communication is carried out, how it is done, how it is carried out in organizations, from one person to the other, from one person to the group, from one group to maybe another group, or from one person to the juniors, maybe from one junior to his or her seniors. Actually, this is the communication that is being carried out all the time in the organizations. E- in fact, every minute that is spent, I must say that every minute that is spent in an organization while you're working, you're actually communicating in one way or the other. Either you're working on a presentation, that means you're planning to communicate. If you are writing a document, that means you are doing a written communication. If you are talking to someone, that means you are doing a verbal communication. If you are conveying your ideas in a meeting, in a discussion, in a conference, in in a in any scenario that actually have people in it, that means you are communicating not only verbal, but you are using your non-verbal gestures as well. And along with that, maybe some kind of slides are moving at the background that are actually supporting what you're saying. That means this is the virtual communication as well. So actually, the whole time that is spent in an organization by any person, he or she is actually involved in some or the other kind of communication. So that means the process that is actually taking place all the time, that has to be looked how it is actually taking place. We have to give it a little concentration, with a little concentration, that we must see and check what is that process that we actually go through when we are communicating with others. The majority of people communicate many times in a given day. This is especially apparent in the workplace. In order to effectively communicate with others, it's important to understand how the communication process works. So, why? Because to have an effective communication with others, because yes, we speak, yes, we write, yes, we give different nonverbal gestures, but are they what they're supposed to be? Are they that effective, to the extent that they must be effective? So basically, what we are actually focusing on right now is to have that communication process perform that effectively that it gives the best results when you are communicating. Because obviously, communication always has results. Whenever you communicate, it gives you some results, maybe good or bad. That depends on the communication, type of communication that is happening between you and the other person. But at the same time, the way you are communicating with the other person, the process that is being followed is actually something that makes that communication, makes that message good or bad for you or for the person. But like I must say, for you and the other person, because communication is being done, but in a good way, is an added quality. So what exactly is the communication process? The communication process refers to a series of actions or steps taken in order to successfully communicate. Now, you must be thinking, what are those steps? How can we divide our communication into some steps that we do, the step one and the step two and the step three? Actually, when you when you say something, when you write something, you actually consciously or unconsciously are going through all those series of actions, all those steps. It's not that you have to say loud, this is step one, this is step two, now my process is under step four. No, this doesn't happen. This is just to make you guys understand what actually are the step by step processes, what are the step by step actions that are there, that take place when you communicate something or something is being communicated to you. Obviously, this is equally important, because sometimes we say that I'm doing the communication at the right time, I'm doing communication at the right in the right way, but things are not being communicated to me at the right time. Things are not being communicated to me in a right way. So you then, if you look at the process and you go through that process, then only you can demand the same smooth process from the other persons. Either they are your seniors or either they are your juniors, because you say, if I convey the message at the right time and in a right way, why that isn't being done to me? So this actually goes both ways. The receiver and the sender, both are important. Actually, they are the vital parts of a communication process, but in between steps are equally very important. So we are going to have a look at the steps that are actually take place in the communication process. So if you look at the one person is transmitter, the second person is encoder. Encoder means he is actually, you can call that person the receiver. Transmitter means the person who is transmitting the information, who is transmitting the message, who is sending the message. Instead of transmitter and encoder, you can have the sender and the receiver as well. The transmitter is the sender. The encoder is the receiver. So the step one is start with the message. Obviously, बात पैगाम से शुरू होती है. So actually, the first thing is a message that is to be sent. When it is at the stage of one, it is a message that is to be sent. The second point is messages encoded. What do we mean by encoded? When we say the message is encoded, that means the proper way of creating, of composing that message is is actually taken, means it's actually thought of. You want to convey something in a way that you think must must be kept with that person for a long period. You must write then. That means that message must be written. If you think that something is very instant, that has to be transmitted very urgently, what is the mode? What can be the mode? It can be a phone call, it can be a message, it can be an email, a quick email as well. But at the same time, you can have a meeting, you can have a quick call to that person. But what is that? This is the way of encoding that message. You means the person who is going to send that message, the sender or the transmitter. The person who is going to transmit the message is going to decide which method is going to be used. And when you decide which method to be used to compose that message, the third step is transmitting of message. Well, you have written what you want to say, or you have called upon that person to call to discuss that thing. This is the encoding methods. Now the third stage is the message is being started to communicate. You are going to transmit the message now. Either you're talking to that person, either you're sending an email, either you're sending a letter, either you are texting a message, whatever. Either you're making a presentation, you have made a presentation, by the way, is in the process of encoding. So now when the message is transmitted, that means the presentation is going on right now, then it comes under the transmission, means it is being transmitted. So the third stage is message is transmitted. Now comes the fourth point. The fourth is message is received. The moment you say something is being received. It depends on the mode of the communication that you have selected for encoding your message. Means, for example, you have called upon a person. He's sitting in front of you. The moment you say something is being the person is receiving that person. For example, if you're sending an email, the instant you complete your email and you send it, you transmit that email to that person, that email is received. But sometimes that email is not read instantly. Yes, the other person might didn't check the mail in the first 10 minutes, for example, on the first day, for example. He didn't get a indication, or he didn't get a message that he has a new email and he has to check the email. That means there is a little delay the in the receiving of the message. It's not the delay in the sending, it's the delay in the receiving. Step by step, in the next slides, we'll be going through how the message is started, how it is encoded, how it is transmitted, how it is received. So the last point, the fifth point is message is decoded. What is decoded? An email is sent to you. You read that email. You get a message from that email. And I'm sure sometimes you read it once, you get a message. Then you think, what was that? You read it again. Then you get a more clearer message. Then you again think, you're telling someone that I have got an email, the boss is saying this, about this, what he said, let me check that again. You read that email again. What is this being done? This is actually message is being decoded step by step by step. Because actually, whatever is being written to you, sometimes we don't instantly get it. We don't in a sudden get it. Why? Because a person who has composed that email for you, he thought of, for example, 4 points. He thought of discussing 4 issues with you, and he has sent you a considerable long email. He actually thought of all those issues that has to be discussed. Now you have to read it. I won't say read it carefully. Actually, step by step, when you will read it and read it again and again read it, you will get the message gradually and step by step. Sometimes under some emotions, under some maybe aggression, any kind of feelings that we have right now with us, maybe someone has sent you a recorded message and there is a lot of noise outside. Maybe someone is playing music. You're not able to listen whatever is saying. You're having a call. You're receiving a call. There's a lot of distortion in the line. Maybe the signals are not good. The message is not communicated to you properly. This is a problem in decoding of that message. The person is saying it right. मैं ठीक हूँ. The other person is not getting. Are you asking how am I? जी जी आप भी कैसे हैं मैं ठीक हूँ. Now he's not getting whatever you're saying. That means the other person is not able to decode your message in a proper way. So actually, to discuss the process as a whole, we will say the 1 and the last, the 1 and the 7, the sender and the The sender and the receiver, the transmitter and the encoder, they both are very important. They actually play the vital role in the whole communication process. This is another diagram. Actually, in this diagram, why I have taken this, I like this diagram as well. If you look at the one sender, and can you see there is a small line encoding message to decoding message, and there is a big area that is covering from sender to the receiver. Actually, the whole aim of this communication process is to take that message from the sender and take that message to the receiver. So this is the whole story. But in between, the sender is encoding the message. The sender is selecting a message channel. And when the first two parts are with the sender, the third part, the decoding message, is with the receiver. The message channel, whatever is the message channel that has been selected, actually is again a very important thing. The sender selecting a message channel, how to send that message to the receiver, and then receiver receives that message. There is another thing that is at the top of that is written at the top, and this is noise. We'll be discussing noise at the end. um, but generally, what is noise? As I just told you, you're receiving a call, signals are not okay. Now the distortion that is being caused because of not because of the signal strength that is weak at that moment, the message that you are getting is actually because of that noise that is in between. Maybe you are at that moment, you are quite in a bad temper. You're receiving a call. Someone is saying something in a quite good mood. You might not get that in a good mood. Actually, why? Because you yourself are not in a good mood. So, actually, whatever is being told to us, whatever is being transmitted to us, depends a lot on the noise that is in between. That noise may be because of the style of text that the transmitter has selected. For example, the person who is sending an email, he has actually he's actually expressing something in a joke, and you didn't get it as a joke, and you see sometimes the emoticons that are present in our every phone and everything, they help us a lot, because you say, I don't want to do it. Now, this sentence, I don't want to do it, is quite harsh. Now, you make a face with that, a funny face, having some tears or having a laugh. It suddenly changes the message. Why? Because the other person is understanding that this sentence is not being said in a harsh way. So, this is the communication actually, that you have to send something in 100%, and your intention is that the receiver receive it 100%. Obviously, we all want this, whatever we have said. I guess sometimes we say, he might not get what I said. Thank God he didn't, because sometimes we write something or we say something in a very bitter mood or in a very happy mood, and afterwards we think, oh, this shouldn't be said. This shouldn't be said in this way. So maybe the distortion sometimes helps us, but in fact, this noise and this distortion is not at all good for the communication process. Um, Communication process involves several components, such as the sender of the communication, the actual message being sent, the encoding of the message. I will again say what is the encoding of the message, the way that message will be sent, the method, the mode that you select to send that message is called the encoding of that message, the receiver who will receive, and the decoding of that message. Now, how he gets that message. There are also various channels of communication to consider within the communication process. This refers to the way a message is sent. This can be through various mediums such as voice, audio, video, writing, email, fax, or body language. So there can be a lot of. You can have a phone call, you can have a text message, you can have an audio message, you can have an email, you can communicate face to face. So this all is communication. This all is the communication process. These all are the various mediums that out of all these mediums we can select any. We can any of the medium of our choice, but not only this is the matter of the choice, because sometimes the nature of the message needs a specific kind of medium. Whatever is important, I don't think that must be sent as an audio. Why? Because an audio message that may stay with you, but not more than an email that is being composed for you, that is being written for you, because written statements and whatever is written is actually that stays for long. So depending on the intensity of what has to be said, the is it just a simple message, or is it something that is kind of professional communication, maybe a message that is to be communicated to the people urgently. Depends on the nature of the message, what medium you select. The overall goal of the communication process is to present an individual or party with information and have them understand it. The sender must choose the most appropriate medium in order for the communication process to have worked successfully. Again, this all has been discussed earlier as well, that the sole purpose of this whole communication process is that the person who is sending the message want that message to be received on the other end 100%. And for that purpose, what he or she does, they select the best possible medium and they try to control the noise so that the message is conveyed properly. Parts of the communication process. So we are going to discuss the parts of the communication. If you see, we already have discussed them in these two diagrams, but we are going to discuss them now one by one. Sender, the number one is sender. This is the person that is delivering a message to a recipient. So, who is the recipient? Who is receiving the message? One who receives the message is called a recipient. So, who is the sender? Who actually, the communication process starts with the sender. Who has to send a message is the sender. Who wants to send a message is the sender. The second is the message itself. This refers to the information that the sender is relaying to the receiver. So basically, what is the message? The message means the information that you have to convey, the information that has to be conveyed to the receiver, to the recipient, is the message. The third is channel of communication. This is the encoding. So what is encoding? The channel of communication. This is the transmission or method of delivering the message. What mode, what method you select to convey your message to the recipient. Decoding. This is the interpretation of the message. Decoding is performed by the receiver. Now, what? Decoding is what? Decoding is the interpretation of the message, how the message is being interpreted by the receiver. Now, the message is received. When the message is received, or it is in the process of being received. Actually, when you sometimes, if an email is sent, the message is received. Now you're reading it, maybe some kind of you are actually reading it, you're in the process of decoding your message. And in that decoding, maybe there's some kind of noise, there's some kind of distortion that is actually disturbing you. But what is decoding? You're having a call, whatever is being sent, whatever is being told to you, you're actually listening to that. So if you're listening to that, that means you are actually decoding that message when whatever is being told to you. So this is decoding. And who is decoding? The receiver. So the next is the receiver. The receiver is the person who is getting or receiving the message. Now the last step is of the feedback. Does this ever happen that a call is, if you receive a call, Someone is saying something to you and you listen to it and you said, okay, this doesn't happen. Whenever is something told to us, we give an answer, and that is the feedback. Are you all right? Yes, I'm okay. This, yes, I'm okay, is the feedback. An email is sent to you. Will you be coming tomorrow? I instantly send an email. Yes, I'll be there at 9. So this is the feedback. So whenever, sometimes, we all receive such kind of messages that this message is just being sent for information. This doesn't need a feedback. Have you ever read this line under an email, under a message? Why? Because this is actually, those messages are actually company generated messages. They are actually some services generated messages. So in fact, they are just for the information. You don't have to you don't have to give any kind of feedback, or you don't have to respond on those messages or any kind of communication that is being done to you. But in other cases, if we talk about the professional communication, in the communication that is being held in the organizations, then you, many of the times, you have to give some feedback as well. Okay, but sometimes, as a message is given by the boss, he is actually informing you about some scenario, or if you have some queries, sometimes there is a line written at the end. In case of any queries, you may contact the office in the given hours, or you may you may send your queries through an email. So this all is permission by the center, that you may have, you can send a feedback based on the message that you just received. How does the communication process work? In order to successfully communicate, it's important to understand how the process works. Here are the 7 steps in the communication process. So we are again going to have a look at the 7 steps that are being followed in the communication process. The number 1, the sender develops an idea to be sent. The sender, the person who has thought of sending a message, he has to send a message. He thought of an idea that is to be sent. The next is the sender encodes the message, means he selects the way the message has to be sent. The sender selects the channel of communication that will be used. Then the message travels over the channel of communication. Then the message is received by the receiver. Next is the receiver decodes the message, and then the receiver provides the feedback. So this is the whole communication process. The sender develops an idea to be sent. The beginning of the communication process involves the sender creating an idea that they plan to send to another person or group of people. Essentially, they're planning the overall subject matter or information they want to transmit. Sometimes, why we are focusing on this again and again, because sometimes some information that has to be communicated is very, very sensitive. Maybe it's very, very important. It's of the nature that the next project is based on all the information that is to be given, that would be delivered, and based on that information, that project has to be carried out. So think how important that information would be. So the process of communication actually starts with the sender who thought of an idea that he has to send some information to another person or to some group of people. Why? Because they are planning the overall subject matter. Whoever is going to write or speak or read or whatever, or whatever the mode he selects, he has to plan the overall subject matter or information. Why? Because if you as a sender are not properly prepared to convey your message, that means half of the effectiveness of that message is missed out at the sender's end, because you never know, you never have an idea how your message will eventually be received at the receiver's end. So at least at your end as a sender, the message must be properly composed, and the overall subject matter must be very carefully planned so that the information is comprehensive. The sender encodes the message. Once the sender develops an idea, they translate it into a form that can be transmitted to someone else. This means they transform the thoughts of the information they want to send into a certain format. For example, if you're writing an essay, if you're writing a letter, you'll translate your idea into words. The message can also be non-verbal, oral, or symbolic. So basically, what is encoding? That you select that form, that how you are going to transmit your message. Means you are transmitting your thoughts into words. For example, you think of an idea, you think of something, that this must be communicated to my group of employees, for example. This must, and if you're an employee, you say, this must be transmitted to my boss, this must be conveyed to my boss, and I have to convey this to my boss. Then what is that? Means you will be thinking of how to transmit that. Either a phone call, that means you are orally transmitting, you are orally encoding your message through a through an email, through a letter. So what is that? Through an application. So what is that? This is written. Your message is written. So basically, whatever the method you select to transform your thoughts into words, any kind of words, means written words, spoken words, spoken by through a phone call, spoken through an audio, spoken in front of, sitting in front of the other person. These all are the ways you are actually encoding your message. Now the sender selects the channel of communication that will be used. Next, the sender decides how the message will be sent. This involves selecting the most suitable medium for the message. They are relying. Some communication mediums include speaking, writing, electronic transmission, or non-verbal communication. I must say the channel of communication and the code and encoding are almost the same. When you think the message, you actually, if you say what is encoding, encoding is the collection of all the words that you are going to transmit in any way, and then you select how to transmit them: through writing, through speaking, through some electronic transmission, or some maybe non-verbal communication. So this all is actually is handled under under the channel of communication that you select for processing your message. The message travels over the channel of communication. Means after the medium is chosen, the message then begins the process of transmission. The exact process of this will depend on the selected medium. In order for the message to be properly sent, the sender should have selected the appropriate medium. Yes, we have discussed this over and over again, that whatever the message, whatever the nature of your message is, you know it the best, and whatever medium you select to transmit it, you have to select the best. Means you are going to decide, either this has to be sent written, this has to be sent verbally, this has to be sent orally, this has to be sent in through some electronic media, or in what way. So this is actually depending on the person who is sending the message. The message is received by the receiver. Finally, it is received by the receiver. The message is received by the recipient. This step in the communication process is done by hearing the message, seeing the message, feeling it, or another form of reception. You might be hearing someone saying something. You might be seeing something in a presentation. You might reading the message in an email. Might be the person is sitting in front of you and is giving you some non-verbal gestures. Sometimes we just give a small head nod, and that gives a message. For example, the other person is giving a message with his or her eyes. Have you done that work? And you say yes. So these are the non-verbal gestures. So actually, for the non-verbal gestures, this is very important, that you should have a very strong sense of communication with that person, and he or she instantly gets whatever is being told to them. So I must say that the non-verbal communication depends a lot on the sender and the receiver. I guess the whole process of communication in any means is depending on the both ends, as I have told you before. But the non-verbal gesture actually depends a lot on the the strength of yes, the strength of the communication that is being in the sender and the receiver. Because if you don't get what is being told to you, you'll be still in a confusion that what he has said. So the receiver decodes the message. You gave a head nod. Now the receiver is decoding that message. What is being told to him? Maybe sometimes he instantly gets it from an email. He instantly gets what is being told. Sometimes you have to read that again. You sometimes something is being told to you in a call, and you say, what did you say? So why what is the point of confusion? Might be that you were not able to listen to it at all. Might be you were not able to listen to there was a little fumbling in the line, and you couldn't hear one or two words, and the message is something important. What do you say? You say, kindly repeat your message because I wasn't able to listen to you properly. Then another way is that you are listening to something, and that you listen to that, but you're not interpreting that. Means this is something. Sometimes things are told to you, and you get them a little a little after you receive them, because you are trying to understand the whole meaning that is being told to you. So basically, this the process of decoding is a lot depending on the receiver. The receiver then decodes the sender's message. In other words, they interpret it and convert it into a thought. Means when the moment you receive the message and the moment you read it or listen it or hear it or whatever message, whatever the way it is being communicated to you, you start interpreting it, and you start to convert it into your thoughts. Means whatever is being told to you, you want to understand it properly. After they have done this, means you have received this and you have converted into your thoughts, you start to analyze the message and attempt to understand it. The communication process is performed effectively when the sender and receiver have the same meaning for the transmitted message. Yes, this is the same exactly that I have just told you before. That whatever is being sent by the sender and whatever is being received by the receiver, they both must be having the same meaning of that message. Only then you can say that that message was 100% conveyed. Number 7 is the receiver provides feedback if applicable. Lastly, unless it's a one-way communication, the receiver will provide feedback in the form of a reply to the original sender of the message. Feedback provides the recipient with the ability to ensure the sender that their message was properly received and interpreted. Between two people, this is two-way communication. So when we call it two-way communication, that a message is sent by a person, the other person receives it, and the other person gives a feedback on it. With that feedback, the sender gets a confidence that yes, my message is received. The sender gets a confidence that yes, my message is received in a proper way. So the receiver will, when giving feedback, will definitely have an idea that on whatever I'm giving a feedback. This means that the person sending me an email will confirm that whatever I have understood, this is exactly what I have understood. Means he will get a confidence. So confidence level at both ends increases when a feedback is given at the same time. So, what is noise? Uh, what is we actually, if you see, we discussed noise in this slide. When we select the message channel, this is exactly where the noise can be. So, what is that noise? We are going to discuss this noise now. We are going to finish our today's lecture at noise. This is a uh, this is something that we can call four different ways of noise. Okay. Um, okay. So different noises that can create some kind of disturbance in the message is physical noise, psychological noise, physiological noise, and semantic noise. Discussing the first, physical noise: construction activity, barking dogs, loud music, air conditioners, airplanes, noisy conflict nearby. These all are the physical noises. You are trying to interpret some message, you are trying to understand some message, you're trying to receive that message. Actually, if you're in the process of receiving, means you're having a call, and in between there is an airplane passing by, you'll not be able to hear anything. Sometimes this happens when I'm giving you a lecture. Sometimes this happens when we are having an interactive class. You might have heard a lot of times airplane passing by, because I have my house near airport. So whenever an airplane passes by, what happens? It's a noise. It's a physical noise that is unavoidable. So in that moment, sometimes I may have asked you, sorry, kindly, can you repeat yourself because I couldn't listen to you. So that is physical noise. The second is psychological noise. Worries about money, maybe crushing deadlines, the presence of specific other people in the room, tight daily schedule, biases related to the speaker or content. Sometimes whoever is speaking, whoever is giving you the message, you don't like that person. So maybe he's giving you a good message. He's telling you something in a good manner, but you're not receiving it 100%. You're not receiving it in a good manner. Why? Because you simply don't like that person. Maybe some kind of tension that is there. So if there is some tension on your mind, if there is something totally grabbing your attention, that means you'll not be able to receive the message properly. Then comes the physiological noise. Feeling ill, having a headache, a growling stomach, room is too cold or too hot. Yes, these all are situations that you're sitting at some place, or you're not having a good state of health. These all are the physiological noises. Semantic noise: special jargon, unique word usage, phrases from foreign languages, mispronunciation. So semantic noises that you actually don't get what is being told to you. Means, apart from all the situations that are around or that are in your mind or something, there sometimes are something in your message that is actually is not interpreted by you properly, because you don't actually simply know it. Use of some word that you don't know. Use of some foreign language. Maybe if I'm a Punjabi, I talk to a Pathan and I use a Punjabi word, he simply don't understand what the word is being told to him. Or maybe some Pashto word told to me, I simply don't understand what is the meaning of that word. So basically, this is called the semantic noise. Tips for improving the communication process. I guess this is what we are going to discuss, inshallah, in the next lecture, because This time, in this lecture, we have discussed the communication process. And in the communication process, we have discussed that the receiver and the sender both are very, very important as far as the communication process is concerned. And the feedback is very, very important because it confirms the message is being sent and received and interpreted properly. And at the same time, there is noise that can disturb the message sometimes. So with this, we will be ending today's lecture, and we'll be continuing with the second lecture in a short while. That would be again in on some other aspects of communication. Thank you very much.